What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG TCG video. Today, guys, we are going to be going over some new ZEXAL support set to be released in the newest set, Animation Chronicle 2021. As if we hadn't gotten enough ZEXAL support with the actual main set in Lightning Overdrive actually having the cover card being a ZEXAL monster. Well, I guess more just Utopia Ray. It was Draconic Utopia Ray being the set. Now we're getting more support in this set. In fact, the new Utopia Ray monster is also on the cover of this set. So I guess we got some parallels there. But the difference between these two is the ones we're going to be going over today or more from the anime. These are going to be cards that actually appeared in the Yu-Gi-Oh! ZEXAL anime, as the ones we did, the ones in Lightning Overdrive, like for example, Rank of Magic ZEXAL Force, ZEXAL Weapon, Dragonic Halberd, ZEXAL Weapon, Pegasus Twin Saber, ZEXAL Construction, Entrusts, and Alliance. All of those cards were new. They were never shown in the anime. These cards that we're going to be going over today were actually from the anime. Well, all but one, but we'll kind of talk about that when we actually get into it. So I'm very excited to get into this. I hope you guys are excited as well. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. So, again, we're going to be doing this as normal. We'll go over the monsters and the extra deck, then the spell cards, which we'll only have one spell card for this video. So the first monster we're going over is ZEXAL Weapon Sylphid Wing. It is a light beast effect monster, level 4 with 800 attack and 1600 defense. And its first effect is you can only control one ZEXAL Weapon Sylphid Wing, or ZW, whatever way you want to call it. Its second effect is you can target one Utopia monster you control, equip this card from your hand or field to that target as an equipped spell that gives it 800 attack. And its third effect is once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monsters with an activated effect, you can make the equipped monster gain 1600 attack. And its fourth effect, which I think is the first time I ever went over a monster with a fourth effect, if the equipped monster would activate its effect by detaching materials, you can send this card to the graveyard instead of one of those materials. So, for example, if you have it equipped to Utopia, you can send Sylphid Wing to the graveyard to activate Utopia's effect. The card, I think, is okay. It's not necessarily a powerful effect. It's more in just, like, gaining a whole bunch of attack points for Utopia monsters, which is the whole gimmick with ZEXAL Weapons, is equipping it to your Utopia monsters and helping them gain attack points, and then using their abilities to kind of help the deck out. This is just, to me, an okay effect. I just see this as a easy way to get a lot of attack points, because I think with this effect alone, if you're able to activate the second and third effect, the most you're going to gain is 2400 attack, which if you add that up to the normal Utopia, that's 4900 attack, which is a respectable amount of attack points. And then you can do something like double or nothing if you want to go to that regards and go to ZEXAL levels when you got those insane attack points. Not as somewhat as we've seen in the anime, but you can get a pretty good amount of attack points on this monster. As for the card, this was actually, I think, the last new ZEXAL weapon that we actually got in the anime. This card was used during the duel with Yuma and Shark, their final duel when they were fighting for the fate of Astral World and Baryon World when Shark was in his Nash form. This was the final ZEXAL weapon monster that we actually saw. In fact, he had this monster equipped when he was going in for the final attack against Nash. So it's pretty cool to actually see this card. And even you see Utopia in the artwork. Like, when I first saw it, it was weird that it was a beast monster, but looking at the wings kind of make it more beast, and then you have the Utopia in the front of it. I think it looks pretty cool, but in terms of its effect wise, I think it's just okay. But I like in the anime, I like the reference from it. I love that duel. It's one of my favorite duels in ZEXAL. I really love that duel. I love the way how it ended. I think it was so cool. So to see this card getting printed in the actual card game is pretty cool. I really do like it. Up next, we actually have a ZEXAL server monster, ZEXAL Server Ouroboros Sage. It is a Dark Warrior effect monster, level 3 with 600 attack and 0 defense. This monster was actually used in the Dawn 1000 duel where after Yuma went into his Zexal 2 morph, activated Xyz's treasure, ended up drawing this card, and ended up using this monster during that Dawn 1000 duel. So pretty cool there that they actually pulled this from the Dawn 1000 duel, which is kind of convenient as well, is because we also got Dawn 1000's cards a while back, so now we're just getting stuff from that duel, which I think is pretty cool. Its first effect is when this card is normal summon, you can special summon one non-light number monster from your graveyard, but its effects are negated. And if you do, equip both this card and one Utopia monster you control, the summon monster, as equipped spells that each give it 1700 attack, but you can only declare one attack this turn. Will say though, Yugioh organization, which is where I normally get this, wrote that very weird. So is that to me, this interpretates, in my opinion, that the monster that you target, you equip both this card and one Utopia monster you control to the summon monster, or is it the summon monster equips to Utopia? It makes it sound like this monster and Utopia gets equipped, but I don't know. The way they wrote that was very, very weird. I don't know why it was written like that. Maybe it was because they pulled it from the anime. I don't have no idea what it was written like that, but that's what I think it was. I wish it didn't limit you to have only one attack, but there's nothing you can really do much in there. So I think it's an okay effect. I guess you just get the monster back from the graveyard and you just have like a beat stick on the field. So yeah, and then its second effect is when a monster this card is equipped to by its own effect declares an attack on an opponent's monster, you can make the attacking monster's current attack become doubled, but destroy it during the end phase. I honestly don't really like that effect, because basically this card becomes a double or nothing, which is a very iconic card that Yuma actually uses. But the issue that I have with it is that not only does Ouroboros Sage have to use its effect in order to activate this second effect, so if you would just equip this card by any other means, its effect won't go off. So that is very, very disappointing there. But then you double the monster's attack points, but it gets destroyed during the end phase. So you basically use your beat stick monster, destroy your opponent's monster, and then this card gets destroyed as well. I don't know, that just doesn't really seem like a good effect to me. Cool card, I like the card's design, I think it looks really cool, but honestly a very lacking card to say the least. I'm not really a big fan of this card, but hey, you know what, it's still getting printed, so that's pretty cool in my opinion. And that is it for the main deck monsters. Now we're going to get into the extra deck monster. There's only one monster for the extra deck. And in regards to the next two cards, which are the last two cards, these cards are actually from the same duel. These cards were in the Yuma versus Tron duel during the World Duel Carnival. So let's get into it. So the first monster we're going over is obviously the Xyz monster for this, the one on the cover art for Animation Chronicles. And that is Yugioh Utopia Ray. Now, before I read its effect, I want to kind of explain something with this card, as technically this is a card that was not used in the anime. Let me kind of explain this. Basically, what this card really is showing a moment from the anime. During the duel with Tron, after using some card effects like Zexel Catapult and one of his monsters in his graveyard, he was able to get Lightning Blade, Zexel Weapon Lightning Blade, and Zexel Weapon Tornado Bringer onto the field, uses the two monsters to Xyz summon, summons rank 5 Zexel Weapon Leo Arms, and uses its effect to equip onto Utopia Ray, which was already on the field, which gave it 3,000 attack points. And basically, that whole exchange of the monster equipping onto Utopia Ray, which actually is the card that helped finish off Tron during that duel, this is basically a reference to that moment of when the monster equipped onto Utopia Ray. So, although it's not actually a card that was used in the anime, the way it's referenced, I think it's pretty cool, which also plays off of what Lightning Overdrive did as well, because you actually had something similar to that as well with Dragonic Utopia Ray, the cover card for Lightning Overdrive, so they kind of played off each other, which I think is pretty cool as well. Except you have Leo Arms for this one, which surprisingly is not getting a reprint in this set, which I'm very surprised about. while the one from Lightning Overdrive is Zexal Weapon Dragonic Halberd. So that's pretty cool, but let's actually get into the effect. I just wanted to kind of mention that card because that was just something interesting that they did, and I actually really do like what they did with that. So, Leo Utopia Ray. It's a Light Warrior Exceeds Effect Monster, rank 5 with 2500 attack and 2000 defense. Normal with Utopia, it requires 3 level 5 monsters. And this card's name is always treated as number C39 Utopia Ray, or Chaos number 39 Utopia Ray. Its first effect is once per turn you can detach one material from this card, equip one Zexal Weapon monster from your deck or extra deck to this card as if it were equipped by its own effect. This activation and effect cannot be negated. Wow, that's actually not that bad of an effect. The fact that your opponent has to force you to use that, go through that effect because they can't do anything. So when you activate this effect, your opponent can't do anything. So you get a free search into any monster you want, whether that's Lightning Blade, Tornado Bringer, Eagle Claw is one of them, and even Sylphid Wing, the one that was actually announced in this set. So there is some targets that you actually have in the deck, which this effect also reminds me of Dragonic Utopia Ray. Is it has a similar effect to it. The only difference is that Dragonic Utopia Ray can equip a Zexal Weapon monster that's in your hand or deck, while this card is from the extra deck. So also, with Dragonic Utopia Ray, it doesn't have the effect where the activation and effect cannot be negated, only Leo Utopia Ray. So, just based off of that alone, I do believe that this is the superior effect. Now, to be fair, the extra deck doesn't really have that much targets. I think the only two targets is Leo Arms and Dragonic Halberd. So, you don't really have that many targets, but the fact that the effect cannot be negated and your opponent is forced to watch you use the effect to equip your Zexal Weapon monsters, I do believe that's better in my opinion. And its second effect is once per turn while this card is equipped with a Zexal Weapon monster card, quick effect, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and if you do, its current attack becomes halved. Again, another similar effect to the original one, which I'm not surprised because they're kind of similar of having their the Utopia Ray card just being this card and equipped with the Zexal Weapon monster in just one card, as Dragonic Utopia Ray is Utopia Ray with Zexal Weapon Dragonic Halberd. Also similar to this effect as well to the original one, I believe Dragonic Halberd can target multiple monsters, while this card can only target one. The difference, though, is that it also has the attack points. If we had to put, I'm just going to do this to try to make it as fair as possible. If we do put it in a similar situation, say both of the monsters on the field are equipped with one Zexal Weapon monster, then Leo Arms would be the better one because of the fact that it can also have the attack points and they just have the same effect of negating an effect. However, if you do have multiple Zexal Weapon monsters equipped to it, then Dragonic Utopia Ray would be better for the negation because it can negate multiple effects, while Leo Utopia Ray can only target one, no matter how many Zexal Weapon monsters are equipped to it. It just becomes to the point where you're just using the Zexal Weapon monster's effects on the card. So, I guess depending on the situation, one or the other can be better. But in my opinion, for the whole grand scheme of things, I do think Leo Utopia Ray is better. Not saying that Dragonic Utopia Ray is bad or anything. I just think based on the fact that it has that effect of you have to your effects cannot be negated, and even the having the attack points I think is pretty solid as well. Because the original one, the Dragonic Utopia Ray, did not have that, while this card does. So, on an even playing field, this one is better, but I can see the arguments for the other one. But really do like this card, and I also like the design of this monster. I know it's just Leo Arms equipped onto Utopia Ray from the anime. Also, but what's kind of funny about it as well is the color scheme does remind me of Zexal 1's morph. Maybe that's just me because of the color scheme they chose, but again, that's just a Leo Arms equipped to it, so that's all it is. But I like the color scheme. It's kind of like Zexal 1 color scheme on it, except with the yellow hair. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but let's go on to the final card for this new support. And the final card that we're going to be going over today is a normal spell card, Zexel Catapult. What's so cool about this card is that this is the original Zexel spell card. As you know, in Lightning Overdrive, we did get Zexal weapon cards like Zexal Constructions, Entrust, and Alliance. This was the OG spell card. In fact, I believe this was the only Zexal spell card that we ever saw in the anime. And like I said earlier, this was a card used in the Tron duel. This helped get Lightning Blade out, to then he used another card to get Tornado, going to Leo Arms, equipping it. You know the rest. So it's pretty cool that we're actually getting into this as well, and I feel like it fits because, you know, with all the Zexal spell cards and even Trap card that we even got for the new support in Lightning Overdrive, I felt like it was fitting that we got the original card as well. So its effect is you can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. First effect is special summon one Zexal weapon or Zexal server monster from your hand. Then if you control a Utopia monster and a Utopia monster, you can change the levels of all face-up monsters you currently control to 4 or 5. I feel like this fits because all of the Utopia monsters, except for Utopia Roots, are all level 4 or level 5. Even the Zexal weapon Exceeds monsters, Leo Arms, and Draconic Halberd are also level 5 as well. So I guess this is an easy way to go into those monsters if you want to actually exceed summon like that. So that's pretty cool. And then if this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card and one Zexal weapon or Zexal server monster from your graveyard, and target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. I'm glad that's a banishing effect. Well, kind of. I think that's a pretty solid effect. You have to also banish a Zexal weapon monster or a Zexal server monster, but if you're not using it at the time and you can't get the monsters back, I don't see the problem in having to banish it, and it's being able to pop a card on the field and not specifically targeting spell or traps. You can target really anything. So honestly, I don't think that's a bad effect. I actually think this is a pretty good card as well. Not as good as Leo Utopia Ray, I don't believe so, but I could see this card being played. I think this is a pretty solid card for what it is. But that's it for the Zexal support. General thoughts, I like the new cards. I think it's pretty cool that we're actually finally getting some new Zexal weapon cards from the anime. I also love how the fact that all these Zexal weapon monsters are from villain duels. You know, you had the Tron duel, you had the Dawn 1000 duel, and then, although yes, Shark was the rival of the series, but during that time when he was in his Nash stage in that duel, he was a villain. So the fact that we're getting these from the villain duels, very, very cool to see them. In terms of usefulness, I feel like the only cards I feel like are going to be useful for like a Zexal weapon deck are probably Leo Utopia Ray and maybe Zexel Catapult. I can see Zexel Catapult getting support. Not saying that the other ones cannot be played in the decks to that degree. I feel like they can be splashed into a Zexal weapon deck, but I do feel like from some of its other counterparts like Lightning Blade and Tornado Bringer, I feel like those cards are a little bit lacking, but they're still cool nonetheless to actually see those cards coming into the card game. But I'm very excited for this set. This is just going to be all anime nostalgia for us, so I'm very excited to see what this set brings. You know, you also have, well, not even just like the anime, I mean, Starving Venomy Dragon, which was also on the cover art for it, is a manga card, or at least I know it wasn't in the anime, that's for sure. Then you also have Dragonroid, I think was the other monster, so Roid support, which is pretty cool, but I'm very excited to see what this set really brings for the nostalgia factor. But guys, that is going to be it for this discussion. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on these new cards. Are you excited for them, or do they not really interest you? What do you think of their usefulness? Do you think they're good cards? Do you think they're okay, or do you think they're bad trash cards? But to me, Leo Utopia Ray and Zexel Catapult are going to be some cards that I see having potential in a Zexal type deck, because I feel like that's what deck you would use the Zexal weapon cards in, but that's just my opinion alone. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.